I'm going to start recording. There. So I guess we'll just have Ray, if you want to start the invocation portion.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, I'd like to invite everyone to just take a deep breath and bring yourself to the present moment that we're gathered here together today to explore the spiritual path. And just take a moment to set aside everything and just be here in the present moment together. So, O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other.
Okay, thank you, Ray. And well, let's just hope that Prasad's able to make it today. I know he's a busy guy, but we'll see. So we're actually celebrating this month the 8th year anniversary of this particular study group. We've been meeting here at the library for 8 years now. And, you know, we used to have about 12 people sitting around the table. And then, of course, COVID came along and the library was closed for quite some time. So we're just, you know, like everybody else, you know, looking for the light at the end of the tunnel and hoping, you know, that things will get, you know, back to a point where more and more people, you know, start coming to the library. But we have a website, and you know, if you're not on the email list or whatever, let us know. But thanks to Hope's work, we do have a website for this group, and we have a meeting once a month. And on the current events page of the website, we always show the program for the coming month. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
I can hear you great.
Ray, you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. And so today's program will be Astrology and Theosophy. And this is the first time in this group, you know, that we have done a program on astrology. But you're going to find out that there's more involved with the program today than just astrology. We're going to bring in, you know, some theosophy. We're going to bring in some of the material from H.P. Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine and so on. So I've typed up some notes, and I might try to read a little bit faster than I normally read, because when I printed this, I didn't realize that I printed so many pages. So, you know, I want to try to get through the material. So let me just, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and read these notes, okay? And then always, you know, at the end of the presentation or whatever, you know, we have discussion, you know, we have question and answer and comments and so on and so on. So much of the astrology that we're going to deal with today is from Alan Leo. He wrote many books on astrology, including Esoteric Astrology, which was first published in 1913. Now, I'm a baseball fan, but if there was a Hall of Fame for astrologers, Alan Leo would certainly be in in that Hall of Fame. He's recognized among the astrological community worldwide as the founder of modern Theosophy. Alan Leo was also a Theosophist. He was a student of H.P. Blavatsky, who founded oh, I see Roberta's holding up the book. Right. Okay. So Alan Leo was born William Frederick Allen on August 7, 1860, Westminster, England. He adopted the nom de plume Alan Leo, but then later legally changed his name to Alan Leo, and wrote and published under that name. He met Madame Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophical Society, in 1891. He was admitted a member of the Theosophical Society in England in 1891, less than a month before Blavatsky's death in London at the age of 59 on May 8, 1891, which is celebrated as White Lotus Day. Every year we have, a little celebration of Blavatsky's life. So a year later, he received a letter from a woman named Bessie Birch, and she was requesting that he cast her horoscope. So she had developed an interest in Theosophy from her reading and from attending a Theosophical lecture by Annie Besant. And to open the meeting today, Ray actually read an invocation that was composed by Annie Besant titled, "O Hidden Life." Annie Besant became international president of the Theosophical Society when the first president, Henry Alcott, died in 1907. So Alan Leo calculated the chart of Bessie Birch, and he saw that her moon happened to be at the 14th degree of Leo, and in his chart, his sun was at the 14th degree of Leo. So he did her chart. He called on her. And right from the beginning, they formed a very strong bond. And shortly after, they were married. And Bessie went on to become a very, very great astrologer in her own right. And the two of them worked together, as a husband and wife team, writing, publishing, and astrology for many years. So when we look at a horoscope, we look for anything that just jumps out off the page, anything that really stands out. And in the chart of Alan Leo, there's a cluster of planets. We call it a stellium of planets in his 12th house. And including his sun. And the 12th house is the house of astrology. So that really stands out. And what also really stands out in his chart is the planet Saturn is exactly conjunct, sitting on his rising sign, his ascendant, 27 degrees Leo. So Saturn, when he was born, that there are 360 degrees in a circle. Well, that particular degree of the circle is divided into 12, as you know, in astrology. That's the zodiac. I mean, I'm not going to jump into astronomy, but in astrology, there's like an imaginary circle, and it's, geometrically, it's divided like into 12 pieces of pie. And each one of those 12 pieces, of course, is 30 degrees. And we'll get a little more into the geometry later, but in Alan Leo's chart, Saturn's at 27 degrees Leo, and at the moment he was born, just like the sun rises in the morning in the east, at the moment he was born, Saturn was rising. So the 27th degree of Leo is his rising sign, his ascendant, exactly conjunct the planet Saturn. So normally the planet that rules your ascendant is the ruler of your chart, but in the case of Alan Leo, I think most astrologers would say that Saturn was the ruling planet of his chart, even though he had a Leo sun. However, the Leo sun, once again, was in the 12th house of astrology. So before we look at the horoscope of H.P. Blavatsky, I wanted to mention another theosophist, Geoffrey Barborka. And Geoffrey Barborka was born in 1897 in Chicago, and he was a serious and deep student of Blavatsky's life, work, and teachings. He conducted for many years classes on Blavatsky's magnum opus, The Secret Doctrine. His most well-known books are The Divine Plan, an in-depth commentary on The Secret Doctrine, H.P. Blavatsky. He also wrote H.P. Blavatsky, Tibetan Tulku, and he wrote The Mahatmas and Their Letters. We're going to get into Eastern or Indian philosophy a little bit. And in Barborka's main text, The Divine Plan, he devotes a tremendous amount of attention to what is known in the East, in India, as the tattvas. So in terms of astrology, astrology works because of the tattvas. And we're going to talk about tattvas. The following is taken from Barborka's text. It was published in 1961, published in Chennai, in India, where the international headquarters of the Theosophical Society is located. And this is the quote from Barborka's book. The universe came out of tattva, or the tattvas. It goes on by the instrumentality of the tattvas. It disappears into the tattvas. By the tattvas is known the nature of the universe. So Barborka quoted the following from The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky's magnum opus. This is from Blavatsky. The tattvas being simply the substratum of the 7 forces of nature. There are 7 forms of Prakriti, as Kapila's Sankhya philosophy, the Vishnu Purana, and other works teach. Prakriti is nature. Now, when we say nature in Theosophy, we're not talking about the woods and the fox running in front of the hounds. That's part of nature. But by nature in Theosophy, we're talking about the universe, the same universe that NASA studies, right? It's a universe that is multidimensional, but that is what we mean by nature. So anyway, Prakriti is nature, matter, primordial and elemental. Therefore, logic demands that the tattvas also should be 7. They are both substance and force. or you could say matter and spirit, or atomic matter and the spirit that ensouls it. So that's directly out of the Secret Doctrine. The Secret Doctrine is subtitled The Synthesis of Science, Religion, and Philosophy. It laid the foundation of modern theosophy. It is regarded as one of the monuments of modern esotericism. Originally published in 1888, it gave the spiritual history of the development of the cosmos and of human life on Earth. In doing this, Madame Blavatsky drew on her impressive knowledge of myth and ancient scripture for verification of the lineage of her theories. So we're going to look at the chart of H.P. Blavatsky. So hope if you want, there you go. Now you can see I've added some red arrows so that we can see that the moon is in direct opposition to Pluto, giving the moon tremendous strength in the chart. The moon is the ruler of the chart because her rising sign is Cancer, ruled by the moon. I've also put an arrow on Jupiter and Uranus. Jupiter is expansion. All of these planets are associated with the 7 rays. But Jupiter expands, just as Saturn contracts. So Jupiter on Uranus gives her a tremendously strong Uranus, which is the ruler of astrology. In fact, as I'll mention perhaps later, Uranus is actually the key. Uranus is the key to the 12th house of astrology. There's another arrow for the stellium, the grouping of planets in Virgo. You can see Mars, Saturn, and Mercury. In the morning at this time of year, if you go out to get the newspaper about 5 o'clock in the morning off the driveway, and if you look to the east, you see the most beautiful conjunction of Venus and Mars. Mars, when you can see Mars very clearly with your naked eye, but it's just a fraction of the size because of the brightness, it doesn't look nearly as big as Venus. But the conjunction of those 2 planets make it worth getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going outside, even though it's been pretty cold. So in Blavatsky's chart, you see that these planets, Mars, Saturn, and Mercury, are clustered together in the 3rd house. And the 3rd house, are you taking notes for the test?
I don't know about any test.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the end, there's always I'm joking.
I'll have to powder my nose then.
The 3rd house is the house of the writer. The house of the writer. It's even the house of the typewriter today. It's just incredible how we can use word processors on computers and send emails and all of this stuff. And believe me, back in the day, in 1888, when Blavatsky was writing The Secret Doctrine, there was no computer, no word processor. Blavatsky spent years from early morning to late at night sitting at a writing desk. It's a wonder that her fingers did not fall off. So that's her 3rd house. And Saturn, it just gives you the stamina to work. People who have tremendous discipline, who have tremendous perseverance, they have a strong Saturn. And when Mars is conjunct a planet, it gives strength. So she had a very, very strong Saturn. And you can also see the planet that holds the pencil, Mercury. Mercury holds the pencil. It does the writing. And all of that is in her third house, the natural house of Gemini, the messenger, the writer. I'm never going to get through all these notes. When you get tired of listening, just put your hand up. So let's jump on. Instead of spending too much time, we'll go to the next slide. All right, in keeping with the spirit of Valentine's Day, I know today is not Valentine's Day, we have to wait 2 more days, right? We show here Antonio Canova's masterpiece of neoclassical sculpture. Canova is famous as Michelangelo. He lived in Venice, and of course Michelangelo lived in Florence, but this sculpture has a title, Psyche, Revived by Cupid's Kiss. Psyche, Revived by Cupid's Kiss. Can you all see the words at the bottom of the picture?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a well, first of all, Canova's first Psyche and Cupid was 1787. So that was the prime sculpture, you know, the first one. It was stolen by Napoleon, you know, the French, right? Here come the French into Italy. We know some of that history where Napoleon came over the Alps, had his picture drawn on a white stallion, where in reality he was riding a donkey. But anyway, we know the whole story. And so the French just gathered up all these beautiful pieces of art, you know, from the Florentines and so on. And off they went, probably on ship, you know, to Paris. And this very famous sculpture entered the Louvre in 1824. The second version was the second version by Canova. It was acquired by a Russian nobleman, and that second version of the sculpture entered the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg in 1796. And there's actually a full-scale model of the statue or statues in the a model in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. So Canova took his inspiration for the sculpture from a 8 AD Latin narrative poem by a Roman poet's name was Ovid. But you know, this is a famous story, mythology. Cupid, as we know, is the Roman name for the Greek god Eros. Eros was the Greek god of love, the son of Aphrodite and Hermes. And Psyche was one of 3 sisters, princesses, in a Grecian kingdom. All 3 sisters were beautiful, but Psyche was the most beautiful of the 3 sisters. And although Psyche is usually referred to in Roman mythology by her Greek name, Psyche, her Roman name, through direct translation, is Anima. And of course, when we study Jungian psychology, we know the term anima very well. So Venus is the Roman name for the Greek goddess of beauty, Aphrodite. So the poem by Ovid tells a story. Are you ready for the story? Cupid's mother, Venus, goddess of beauty, demanded that Psyche bring back a flask from the underworld, strictly forbidding Psyche to open it. But Psyche's curiosity got the better of her. She opened the flask, and no sooner had breathed in the fumes, the terrible fumes, that she fell into a sleep, a death-like sleep. Seeing her lying motionless, Cupid, or Eros, rushed to her and touched her gently with the tip of his arrow to make sure she was not dead. This is the moment caught by Canova. Cupid lifts his beloved Psyche in a tender embrace. His face close to her face, Psyche lets herself sink slowly backwards, languorously taking her lover's head between her hands. At the close of the tale, the gods decide in council to grant Cupid Psyche's hand in marriage, according to her immortality and making her the goddess of the soul. So that's the story. And we can leave that sculpture, that picture up, Hope, for a while if you like. All right, we're going to move on in a moment to a slide of the signs and the planets of astrology. But I wanted to just inject this one quotation from Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine. If we want to really understand esoteric astrology, we need to delve into some of these other materials, whether they be Eastern or Western or Gnostic or whatever. You know, we need to go into these other materials in order to understand esoteric astrology. The eternity of the universe in toto as a boundless plane, periodically the playground of numberless universes incessantly manifesting and disappearing, called manifesting stars and the sparks of eternity. So in my words, the universe incarnates over and over again, over and over again. It seeks perfection through a never-ending evolutionary process. There was never a beginning to this process, nor will there ever be an end. The process is eternal. There is a significant difference between the words eternal and eternity. Eternity implies time. The eternal is not time, but being. So the universe is a state of being. It is timeless. The process of evolution is eternal. It is a process of being, not a process of time. That's on the test. You got that?
I'm gonna make sure I get
Okay.
that
All
right.
right. Well, I'm just trying to help
I
you
know.
the first time.
You're very good.
So in the Secret Doctrine, we are introduced to the eternal cycle of manvantaras and pralayas. Manvantaras are periods of manifestation. Blavatsky defined pralaya as a period of obscuration or repose. Okay, so we can put that slide, Hope. So after a pralaya, a ray of the absolute in the East is Parabrahman. That ray flashes forth and a new cycle commences, a new Manvantara. Now we know that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We've read that 100 times, right? So following each of our many hundreds of incarnations as humans, we enter a state of rest, a hiatus, during which the experience of the incarnation is absorbed and processed. When we reincarnate, the astrologer draws a map of our stars. In the horoscopes of astrology, the 12 signs are the prakriti, or substance of the universe, the marble of Canova's sculpture. The 7 planets, which we may consider to be analogous to Canova's mallet, chisel, and other tools, are the instruments or vehicles through which divine ideation, Purusha, finds expression. Purusha, a term in the East for spirit or consciousness. So Barborka deals with the 7 tattvas in his divine plan in a chapter that he titles The 7 Element Principles. The Sanskrit word tattva translates as force. There are 7 tattvas in the septenary universe. That's critical to remember, that the universe is septenary. To understand the basis, the esotericism of astrology, you have to know that. The universe is multidimensional. There are 7 planes, just as there are 7 days of the week, 7 colors, 7 notes. We talk about 7 rays. In the secret doctrine, 7 globes, 7 sacred planets, and so on. In John chapter 14, verse 2 of the Bible, Jesus says, "My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you." In the King James Version, 1611, the words quoted are, "In my Father's house are many mansions." And I think a lot of people are more familiar with that. But I think it really makes more sense to say, "In my Father's house are many rooms." So we're talking about the planes, the different dimensions of the universe. So the primal tattva is termed Adi tattva. That's ADI-tattva. It is the primordial universal force, the force of the first logos of Blavatsky's secret doctrine. The first logos is also called the unmanifest logos, the unmanifested logos. So there's 3 logi. The second logos is the bridge between the first logos, the unmanifested logos, and the third logos, the manifested logos, our universe. The tattva, the force of the second logos, is the Anupadaka tattva. Anapadaka translates roughly in English is parentless, which is the force of Purusha and Prakriti, termed by Blavatsky Fohat. And this force that she calls Fohat is the bridge from the unmanifest to the manifest. So let's just hope that the Canadian truckers don't find out about this bridge. That's a joke.
But I'll be with you there.
So Fohat is a term of unknown origin. Blavatsky claims that the term Fohat comes from the Tibetan language. So the tattva of the manifest logos, the third logos, is Akasha tattva. And the English word chosen as an equivalent for Akasha is ether. So the English word equivalents for the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh tattvas are fire, air, water, and earth. So these seven tattvas, the forces that make possible the infinite series of universes, the never-ending cycle of manvantaras and pralayas. In astrology, the tattvas of fire, air, water, and earth are associated with the 12 signs. The 3 air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. The 3 fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The 3 water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The 3 earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The 3 modalities of astrology are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And I think they would relate to the gunas, you know, in Indian philosophy. So the 4 signs are cardinal: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. 4 signs are fixed: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. 4 signs are mutable: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So the 4 elements of air, fire, water, and earth, plus the 3 modalities of cardinal, fixed, and mutable equal 7. In Alan Leo's esoteric astrology, now, Roberta, you're familiar with that book, obviously. You have it on your desk.
Well, I had it on my bookshelf because I started taking astrology classes, but I haven't cracked into it very much.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just recommended. I've been using this one more than anything by Isabel Hickey.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, in Alan Leo's text, Esoteric Astrology, he places great emphasis on the fact that the immortal self, the monad, is under the rulership of one of the 7 planets or rays for its entire journey through the human kingdom. We're talking about hundreds of incarnations. And your planet does not change. But that's not the planet of your personality, not the planet that rules your rising sign, not the planet of this particular incarnation. That changes from life to life, depending on what your karmic requirements are. So you do have a permanent ray, a planet. And I know of no way, you know, to figure that out. But just so we know that there's a tremendous difference between the personality, which is the temporary self. You know, Blavatsky lived almost 60 years, but that was it. You know, hello, goodbye. That's the personality. But there'll be another personality for that same monad. So, we can define a monad as a divine fragment of universal manifestation. In Blavatsky's writings, Well, she gets into the globes, the rounds, and that's just too much to get into today. But let's just say that we are monads within the one life. Now, Ray read the invocation, The One Life by Annie Besant. So we are monads within the one life, which is existent on 7 planes or dimensions. We are divine sparks or fragments of the solar logos. Solar logos, a great being, incarnate in our star, the sun. And when we view, the sun, the physical sun, we are looking actually at a vehicle of consciousness, the physical manifestation of this great being or solar logos. I'm going to skip over some of this here. I know Ray's very familiar with some of these terms like para-Brahman and so on. But now we get to the colors, and I think we have another slide. Oh, there it is.
Sorry, I went nuts there a second. Yeah, okay.
Were you asleep?
Me? No, I'm totally fascinated by what you're saying. It's my
I'm
mouth.
just joking
It's my mouth.
I'm
It's my
joking
mouth.
about Eros,
Oh, it's my mouth. Oh no, there's a delay.
So you're not asleep.
I'm totally listening. I totally am.
Yeah. So green is the color of Saturn. And in music, it's the middle note. It's the color that serves as a bridge between the indigo of Venus, the violet of the moon, the blue of Jupiter. It's the bridge from those 3 colors to the yellow of Mercury, the orange of the sun, and the red of Mars. So we need to keep in mind that it's not the physical planets themselves that affect us, but the supreme intelligences in the East, the Devas, who use the planetary bodies as their physical vehicles, so to speak. I first encountered astrology in London in 1969. And I found out later that the book that I purchased, from which I learned astrology, it was written by Margaret Hone. And I found out later that she actually died the year that I found her book, Modern Astrology. And Margaret Hone is in the hall, in the Hall of Fame of astrologers. She came up with a system known as the keyword system. And it's a wonderful system for anyone, getting involved with the reading of astrology. If you want to read astrology, learning to associate, the various elements like the planets and the signs and the aspects and so on and so on. The aspects have to do with the geometry. And, we know that there is a kingdom of Devas spoken about for thousands of years in the East that are the architects of the universe. Blavatsky talks about them, in The Secret Doctrine. But they are the architects. And just think of geometry. We had a class here at the library a year ago on sacred geometry, which was really interesting. So here are some keywords for the planets. Mars, assertiveness. Neptune, idealism. Jupiter, expansion. Venus, pleasure. Sun, ambition. Moon, mood. Mercury, the messenger. Uranus, independence. Here are some keyword associations for the signs. The air signs, abstract ideation. The fire signs, thought or mind. Water signs, feeling, emotion. Earth signs, action, having more to do with the physical body. Now, the keyword associations of the 4 elements of air, fire, water, and earth with the tattvas. I'll read these Sanskrit words for you, but I'm not going to show them. But if you get into Barbarka or Alan Leo, you'll read the Sanskrit terms for the elements. So air is the Vayu Tattva, fire is the Agni Tattva, water is the Apas Tattva, earth is the Prithivi Tattva. And I'm not pronouncing these Sanskrit terms exactly correctly. That's why I wish Prasad was here. I know Ray knows a lot of this too, but the pronunciation, don't count on me on that. So now Alan Leo gives an association of the planets to our chronological age. So from the age of birth to 4 years old, the planet that is most influential is the moon. We call the moon a planet. From age 4 to 10, Mercury. From 10 to 18, Venus. From 18 to 37, the sun. From 37 to age 52, Mars. From age 52 to 64, Jupiter. And from 64 on, Saturn. And it's important to remember that the influence of a planet is always intermixed with the zodiacal sign in which it is placed. So with Alan Leo, his sun was in Leo. Blavatsky's moon in Cancer. No, I'm sorry. Blavatsky's moon is in Libra, in the Libra. And then, the position of the planets has a great deal to do with karma and whether, we're getting the better vibration of a planet or perhaps the lesser, more unfavorable vibration from a planet. And, this is where the intuition of the astrologer comes into play, because you have to look at this entire map. You have to read the geometry, you have to read the signs and the planets and how it all comes together. So in closing, I just want to call attention to 2 upcoming astrological configurations. You mind just put the basket on the door so, oh, never mind, she closes. We don't bother the people out there. So these are the 2 upcoming astrological configurations that are being talked about throughout the astrological community. The United States of America, we all know the chart was the birth chart was July, well, we say July the 4th, we accept July 4th, 1776. But for the chart, we accept July 4th. And the first ever Pluto return in the horoscope of the United States will be exact on February 22nd of this year. The Pluto, but Pluto is a very slow moving planet, and it can have an orb of about 10 degrees. So you can't really say February 22nd. You can basically say it could extend for 10 years on either side of February 22nd. But it is the first ever Pluto return for the United States. The cycle of Pluto, around the zodiac, it takes 248 years. So this is the Pluto return right now of the United States. And Pluto in Eastern philosophy would be associated with Shiva. Shiva, the god of transformation, the god of say destruction too, but okay. Now, in addition to the Pluto return, and once again, Pluto is associated with transformation, regeneration, 248-year cycle, major astrological significance in the chart of the United States of America, this Pluto return. If I remember right, the Roman Empire fell in the year 480, something like that. That was a Pluto return. I don't remember, but it was like the third cycle of Pluto, for the Romans. So anyway, another potentially significant astrological event will take place this year on April 12th. There will be an exact conjunction of Neptune and Jupiter in the sign Pisces. Neptune and Jupiter are the co-rulers of Pisces. So this placement of these two planets in Pisces is very positive and promising. The last time that Neptune and Jupiter were conjunct in Pisces was March 17, 1856. This is on the test too.
I'm right here on my hands with you.
The 1856 conjunction set in motion forces, tattvas if you like, that ignited the abolitionist movement, which led us as a nation to the official end of slavery with the adoption of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution on December 18, 1865. Jupiter is the planet of justice. That's a key word for Jupiter, justice. Neptune, the planet of altruism, compassion, and empathy. The sign Pisces, the ruler of the 12th house, is the sign that provides a window to divinity. Hopefully, the approaching conjunction of Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces, combined with the Pluto return, will ignite the transformative and regenerative forces that will lead to our meeting the challenge set before us in the parting words of Desmond Tutu, who of course died last year in December. These are Tutu's words. The God who existed before any religion counts on you to make the oneness of the human family known and celebrated. So thank you very much for your patience, your Saturn, listening. And I know, getting into some of this material is it's abstract, but it's also significant because, we wake up in the morning, we go through the day, and we go to sleep, and we go through a cycle every 7 days, right? Another week. So, our life is very much part of what we're talking about in terms of the tattvas, the forces, the planets, the signs, the aspects, the astrology, the whole thing. I am not a professional astrologer. I'm a student of astrology and not really a deep student of astrology. If you want your horoscope to be cast by a professional astrologer, we would happily refer you to Ray Grassi, who's a theosophist. My astrologer lives in Oregon. If you email me, I'll give you her email address. Her name is Dana Gephardt. But anyway, it's to me, very, very interesting. And, in Theosophy, we get involved with the study of 7 rays. And I think the Minneapolis group that Hope is part of is having a program on the 7 rays. And if you want to get involved, with that program, just let Hope know. So Hope, open your microphone. I can't hear you.
I know. I couldn't get over to it. When I'm doing the projection, there's delays in how Zoom lets me get at things. So, hello.
So, well, anybody who wants to say anything or whatever, please do. Any comments or whatever.
Yep. Thoughts and questions?
Well, I thank you. I just want to say thank you. This has been a great presentation. Could you just repeat that quote by Desmond Tutu one more time?
Yes.
I really love that.
Yeah.
The God who existed before any religion counts on you to make the oneness of the human family known and celebrated.
That's great. Thank you so much.
I wanted to make a comment about Pluto. I'm
sorry, what was the word?
Pluto, the planet Pluto, and the return. I was reading about that too, and yeah, it's a big deal. England has had like a second return and that was in the 1800s, and they actually abolished slavery under that time, and so they were ahead of us in doing that, and it was had to do with Pluto. So it isn't always a fall of a country, it's like a remaking, because they had to remake their whole economy to figure out how not to have slavery. So it was a restructuring of the institution of the imperialistic British Empire. And so it can be that transformation can be a positive thing, which was reassuring to me. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I'll go with transformation over the fall of the United States any day.
Yeah, exactly.
And John, I found that very helpful because I've just now started to study astrology and kind of learn it. And I've been doing it through the TS with Gwen Meyer, and I still feel it swirling around. Like I can't remember my signs even right now. I know my. You know what I mean? And it's almost been 2 years, and I've learned that. Well, from what I've heard, is that it takes at least 10 years to kind of get a little bit of a grasp with astrology. And you just kind of have to keep plugging away and learning. And you, in your talk today, were able to there's some things that I just went, oh, okay, okay. You know, I was able to make some connections that I hadn't before. And the Tatmas, I don't really know much about them, so thank you for that too.
Yeah. I tried. I mean, I thought COVID lockdown 2020. I had bought a book specifically to go into more detail on astrology because I know nothing except for the little that most newbies would barely even mention. But I tried, and I just wasn't there yet. I'm not there yet. What resonates with me though is what John had brought up as well is, you know, I guess it's the graphics, but the colors. You know, what all of this. What all of the planets represent, their colors. Then of course, it ties back with the chakras, and it's just interesting. That's what gets with me. But it was just so over my head. I don't think I wasn't ready yet, because it was going into all kind of percentages of this and percentages of that. Not that I love numerology and I love numbers, but it just wasn't. I love knowing the little bits that I know, but I would love just to put a little bit of a jump drive in John's ear for a little bit and just kind of download so I can get some of that, because everything from the beginning of this group to all the knowledge he's absorbed, because I can see he's a wealth of a source. But yeah, I just find it fascinating, but I do get into the graphic part of it. It's funny. The colors resonate with me too. Yeah.
I like thinking of I like the reminder that the sun and the planets and everything, the logos concept.
Mhm.
Yeah, they are beings. They are, they've got qualities. We interact with them like we interact with everything. I just, when you get too much into your education and science and just, you kind of forget the living part of it, the connection and the influence that we had, that Pluto, which science doesn't even call a planet anymore, how that can have such a profound impact on a particular spot on this planet and a community, on this planet. I just love the reminder of how we are so connected and part of the same whole. And so I look at the sun differently. I look at the moon differently. I look at Mars and Jupiter shining out there. I love when they're really visible in the sky in the dark. It's just awesome. And you just feel them differently and look at them differently. And it's heartening, I guess, is what I want to say. So.
Well, I mean, I've been reading astrology for years. I mean, not as a serious student. I'm not a serious astrologer, but I've always been just, amazed with the synchronicity, how, something happens and then, you look at a map of the stars when that happened. And it's almost as simple as looking at a clock to see what time of day it is. It's just unbelievable that you can read the stars. It's just, it's really been helpful to me. I mean, we all go through our ups and downs. And, I've had some difficult, challenges. And really good things. And on a very simple, very mundane level, someday I'm going to have to trade in my 1996 Honda Civic and break into my own bank and buy a new car, right? Well, I'm not going to buy a new car unless I look at the aspects. And I'm serious. And, I like to go on a trip once a year at least. And I don't book my airfare. I'm telling you the truth. I do not go on a trip without looking at the stars first.
And I never thought of that. I mean, it could like a predictive tool. we have had presentations on astrology. I can't remember, Hope, who that man was that does the charts, the Eastern charts. But yeah, he said the same thing, that, almost to a point where I was worried that our whole lives are laid out for us without choice, the degree of choice that I thought we had. But he was saying that when you really dig in, you can explain what is happening, what's going to happen, what has happened, just by that information.
Oh, could I just make a quick plug? I know that National has just put up on the online School of Theosophy. They just put together a program of basic astrology that you can learn at your own pace with, and so that's available on online school on their website. And for anybody that's interested in that.
Well, one of the best teachers in the Theosophical Society today from South America, his name is Pablo Sender. And English, is his second language, but, Pablo has a wonderful background in, formal education. He had a PhD in microbiology and so on and so on. But he's a very good student, very dedicated, very serious student of the secret doctrine. And I'm currently taking his class on astrology. But, it's not a beginning class. It's, because he is, bringing out material from the secret doctrine. And it's a different part of our brain, our mind. I mean,
yeah, I think a couple of us. I hope you're doing that too. Yeah, and I'm doing that one as well, John, on Monday nights.
We just have our Monday night this week, but then I get the recording, and then I'll be back the next week.
Yeah, I do Pablo's Mahatma letters and his Living Theosophy as well, because I have found him to be such a knowledgeable and very clear teacher. And the way he presents is very so clear.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another teacher that we are so lucky to have is Ravi Ravindra. And I know that Ray has listened to some of his material on YouTube, but Ravi Ravindra is just wonderful. I mean, as a teacher, he's professor emeritus now from a Canadian University in Halifax, Dalhousie University, where he taught physics and Eastern philosophy. So, he's got both sides. And, but his skill, as a teacher is just wonderful.
And the other thing that's nice is there's a lot of archived teaching online that's no cost, and just when we have time. Yeah. I like to listen to things and crochet, learn it, get something done.
Mm-hmm.
I make stuff too and listen, Hope. That's funny. Yeah, I've taken a couple things with Ravi Ravinda as well, and he too is that, just has that beautiful clarity. You can tell he's just been a teacher he's just a teacher. He's so good at it.
Well, another good teacher is Ed Abdel from the New York Theosophical Society. I often thought that Ed might, move to Alcott and take the reins there, but, he'll never leave New York. He loves New York. And, my wife and I, our first visit to New York, I emailed Ed and he told me, well, the first thing you do is take the Circle cruise. Well, I'm just laughing in my own mind, all he thinks about are these circles. He's a theosophist, right? But no, the Circle cruise around Manhattan is a wonderful way to start a visit in New York. But before you go to New York, do your horoscope.
Okay, so I have to ask, what do you look for in your horoscope then?
I couldn't hear.
Oh, I said, so what do you look for in your horoscope before you travel? What is it you're looking for?
Oh, well, Venus and Jupiter, mostly, Jupiter, for travel, Venus for pleasure, good aspects to Mercury. You don't want to miss your train. Mercury.
Making connections. Yep, yep.
Well, you want good aspects.
Yep.
That's where the geometry comes in.
So probably even if we don't know how to do it ourselves, get an astrology reading for your current time, whatever that's called, before you
A horary chart. I don't know, but I mean, there are a lot of astrologers out there. I don't know anybody that has contacted an astrologer to find out when is a good time to go to Spain. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a thing though, because there's also the cartography, so you can tell what areas and overlapping with your current chart for auspicious times.
Dennis, I've forgotten the name of it.
Astrocartography?
No, there's a
What did you
website,
say?
a website that I linked into a long time ago.
Yeah.
Astro Dentist or something like that.
Dinst. Yeah, Astra Dinst.
Astro Dentist. And
Yeah.
it gives you a global look of where the planets, the lines that cross parts of the world, where it's a good place to live, or where if you are there, this is how it's going to represent. It shows when Pluto comes in. It shows where Jupiter comes in. And I could not, it is perfect. Well, I see that my history, boom, it just nails every single one. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yes,
so
I have done that. Yeah.
it spots that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if my astrologer Dana in Oregon, does that sort of thing. But she very well. I mean, if anybody wants her email, I'd be happy to give it to you.
Yeah. Does she have a website? Or is she?
She publishes in the Mountain Astrologer. She's one of the main authors for that astrological magazine, the Mountain Astrologer. So you can find her name, Dana Gephardt, in the online
Okay.
website for the magazine. Yeah, even have I might have her. I might have her email. I should have it. You never know when you'll need it. You want to write it down? It's Dana, and her last name is spelled Gerhardt. And her email is Dana, Dana, at mooncircles.com.
Has she come here? Has she come to New Orleans? Because it sounds.
Well, she may have. I've never met her in person. In person.
It sounds familiar.
Well, she's pretty well known astrologer.
It's a Dana that I met here at the bridal. She has quite a few little fairs or fests at I forgot something bridal on St. Charles, and that's where I met a Dana.
Well, I guess we just wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and If you're rooting for the Bengals, go Bengals. If you're rooting for the Rams, go Rams or whatever. And thank you very much, for participating. And we do have a website, and so we don't know yet. We jump around, with programs and topics. So right now at this moment, I don't know what's going to be on the table for March, but we'll have something in March next month. In other words, it's always the second Saturday of the month at 2:00 Central Time.
And the link is always the same too, by the way, for Zoom. And so Ray, you had a prayer for our leaving?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Or a chant?
Yeah. So this is a Sanskrit prayer. And you can just listen to the Sanskrit and let it come in and resonate, and then I'll read the English. Om Asatoma Sa Gamaya Tamasoma Yotir Gamaya Ritorma Amritam Gamaya Sarvesham Svati Bhavantu Sarvesham Shanti Bhavantu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead me to the real. From darkness, lead me to light. From death, lead me to immortality. May all beings dwell in happiness. May all beings dwell in peace. May all beings attain oneness. May all beings dwell in auspiciousness. May happiness be unto the whole world. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess we're going to sign off.
Thank you, John.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank you, Hope.
Nice to meet the New Orleans contingent.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Her name is Kelly, Hope. So I hope she gets in touch with you, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We'd love to have you. Awesome to meet you.
Thank you. I
Very,
feel
very
welcome as
wonderful.
well.
Great.
All right.
Yay. Thank you all. Bye.
Good rest of your days.
Bye-bye.